Welcome to Pixelated episode 99. I'm your host, Will Saddleberg. It's a true doubleheader this week, as Damien, Abner, and myself dive into the latest rounds of Pixel 11 leaks. How big of a deal is that GPU downgrade? How much should we read into that RAM decrease? And does all of this spell trouble for Google's grander plans for mobile AI? But that's not the only hardware discussion we have this week, because Fitbit has finally returned with its long-rumored displayless Air wearable. Wearable? What's it do, who's it for, and does it offer better value than its closest competitor in Whoop? All of that and more starts right after this word from our sponsor, Proton. Grab your phone and take a look at your app drawer right now. You've probably found yourself relying on these same old apps and services since the Nexus days, and what suited you best back then might not be the right choice in 2026. Luckily, Proton can help bring you into a privacy-first ecosystem built for our modern age. Proton offers practically every service you could possibly need under the sun across every platform, including email, calendar, file storage, password management, document editors, and, of course, a trusted VPN. Built with class-leading end-to-end encryption, Proton's entire suite is fast, intuitive, and secure, and export tools mean you don't need to worry about leaving data behind on those other apps. Pixelated listeners can save 30% off an annual subscription to Proton Unlimited, which includes 500 gigabytes of cloud storage, custom email domains, a dedicated customer support team, and so much more. It's what's best for your current phone, not whatever you were using back in 2013. Upgrade to Proton today and save 30% on your annual subscription by heading to proton.me/9to5google or by clicking the link in the show notes. That's proton.me/9to5google. Thanks to Proton for sponsoring Pixelated.
Gentlemen, we are in the penultimate episode before we reach episode 100. I just wanted to set that out straight away because that's in the back of my mind on this pod. But we're talking. That also kind of brings to light some of the things we talk about a lot on the podcast. And we've had a leak this week about Pixel 11. What else? Details about potentially new camera hardware, Tensor G6 details, which I'm a little bit kind of. Yeah, you get what I'm saying there. Specifications as well. Do you think we've talked to death about the Pixel 11 yet, or do you think we need to get into more? I think we need to get into more, but just tell me your overriding thoughts straight away, guys. I'm intrigued to hear what you think, given we've had a fair amount of leaks already.
Yeah, I mean, this looks generally like what I would have expected based on the fact that they don't seem to be. This seems to be a third iteration on the core Pixel 9 design family, right? Like Google is clearly taking their time and rolling out whatever is next for Pixel. And I think that is true. You can see that in these specs. What is surprising to me more than the consistency is the couple of places where they are getting downgraded. I don't know if we want to start there.
Yeah, I think downgraded is what I would have said. We may be being strong, I guess, with downgraded, but
well, not on the RAM. The RAM is 100% a downgrade.
Yeah.
So if maybe we start with that, because I actually think the memory is the big conversation here, even more so than the GPU. I think the memory means more to Google. But basically, it looks like instead of, as we saw with the Pixel 10 series, where the base model had 12 gigabytes of RAM, the Pros had 16. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, either of you. I believe I'm right on that. The 11 will go down to having two tiers on each model. So the 11 will have an 8 gigabyte and 12 gigabyte tier, presumably centered around what storage capacity you pick, I would guess. And then the Pros will have 12 or 16. So the base models of each tier of Pixel 11 essentially will get a 4 gigabyte RAM decrease.
That feels like the biggest debuff, doesn't it?
Feel like the future.
No.
This does not feel like the future. This is very dumb and very stupid, and
especially for Google.
Yeah.
But like Google in particular, if you're going to center, and this is sort of the argument I had about being frustrated over the 128 gigabyte starting tier for the Pixel 10 and 10 Pro. If you're building an AI phone, then things like RAM and storage matter more than ever, right? Storage, because you have this massive I think, relatively speaking, massive local model that takes up 7-ish gigabytes of space on your phone. That's a lot when you're talking about 128 gigabytes, because you don't get all 128 gigabytes to begin with. And then on the memory side, I think that's fairly obvious. I mean, the whole reason we're in this RAM shortage to begin with is the AI crunch. And so
yeah, it's so weird, isn't it?
It's so circular, where you're like Google is downgrading the Pixel 11's RAM, like starting RAM quotas because of the AI race that they are a massive part. Like it is very funny how it loops
I never even
back.
thought
It's
of
a
that.
feedback loop. Yeah. And so, but the end result is end users buying a Pixel 11 will have a, especially the base model, if you get 128 gigabyte, 8 gigabyte base model, will have a worse experience and possibly have access to fewer features compared to something like the Pixel 10, at least, moving forward. Who knows what the future holds?
Yeah, how Google is going to handle that is going to be I'm really curious how Google ends up handling that in terms of how they tell people that this despite it having the same name, doesn't have all the features, as you can see with the A series. But on the flip side, the A series, people seem to be fine without it.
Yes, but this is a really good. This was literally what I was about to say. You're trying to take it out the words out of my mouth a little bit there, Abner. Does this therefore create a bit of an issue now with regards to the A series moving forward? If we have a device that it's not spec for spec, but the core internals of the A series have been 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gig base, pretty much by the by numbers, everything else, give you the minimum viable product for a Pixel phone, right? Do we potentially think that this is going to cause some issues now for the Pixel 11a? Because if they have this issue where the Pixel 11 drops down to 8 gigabytes of RAM as a base, we don't know the storage yet because this leak doesn't provide that. Does this kind of create a bit of a separation between what's going to be capable with regards to those AI models and Gemini moving forward? Or does Gemini therefore get, I don't know, we maybe have like an even lighter model for the Pixel 11 versus the Pixel 11 Pro? Like, are we going to see some sort of like insane split between the mainline series? And then does that mean that the A series even matters anymore? And I personally think that Google could just roll it all into one and have the A series launch as the base anyway. But I don't know. What were you guys thinking?
That's such a complicated question, because I think Google is perhaps in the worst space it could be compared to its competitors in the Android hardware space, right? Like Samsung has to worry about its raw specs on the next device and how that relates to its essentially its price, right? Like it needs to look at when it's planning out the Galaxy S27, what can we put in this phone to achieve a price that people will be willing to pay? And that might be $200 more expensive than the S26 series, but that's really the math that they're doing, right? Google, because they are stewards of Android and the Gemini company, and Pixel is the Gemini phone in a way that the S26 is really not the Galaxy AI phone, no matter what Samsung wants you to think. They have to not only balance out what is the price to performance ratio we can get for customers right now that they're going to be willing to pay, but also how do these specs relate to what we want this hardware to do this year and for the next 6 years, right? Like, it's so complicated. And so when you see them suddenly being like, we have to dial this RAM back down to A series levels, you start thinking like, does this halt or slow down some of the things they might have wanted to do locally with Gemini on their future hardware? Like, will the in 2 years ago, they might have been mapping this out being like, and in 2026, all of our phones will start with 16 gigabytes of RAM. And now they can't do that. Like, I don't know that for sure, but certainly these constraints are going to also constrain the software side of Pixel.
I mean, to play devil's advocate, though, does this potential constrained, and I do think this is what Google have done probably better than a lot of other manufacturers out there. They've been doing this since the Pixel 3a, proving that they can make an exceptional software experience with minimal potential hardware. Does this therefore, I mean, with regards to the A series, If the 11, if the 11A it becomes a real thing, we do get an 11A, and I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that we're not going to. Does this potentially mean that the A series is now going to get a leg up more than they have for a while? Because if you have the base model of the Pixel 11, the upcoming Pixel 11, effectively what ends up being potentially the same as the Pixel 11A, we're just taking what we have with the Pixel 10A, almost spec for spec identical, save the chipset. Surely this means, and you said they're going to have to support them for 6 years because of the whole 7-year update cycle. There's potentially going to be some benefits there that we maybe don't necessarily think about, but at the same time, that's going to cause problems for Google. Almost, what would the
it means everything has to be in the cloud.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
like
basically.
Basically, so
whatever
plans,
absolutely not an issue. Which is absolutely not an issue.
I think Google sees it. Google clearly wants the Pixel to have large, a lot of capabilities that can be handled on device.
And everybody else want that, but I honestly don't think it's there yet. On-device AI, in terms of the features that Google has demonstrated to date, so it's just not there yet. Magic Queue,
it's not.
What is people's usage of Magic Queue? But
I
also,
don't.
it's very clear that that private compute core thing, where it's a hybrid model, that is, I still think, in terms of genuine functionality and utility, that's where we're going. Look at the task automation, screen automation stuff. That is still handled in the cloud. I generally think we're a good 2, 3, 4 generations out before we get any meaningful on-device AI experiences. I'm curious to see what Apple brings with their more powerful chipsets, what they can demonstrate, but I don't think we're there yet. And to continue the devil's advocate argument, it's probably a non-issue for now for this generation. But at the same time, I do kind of think that limiting the RAM based on storage, I feel like they shouldn't do that for their quote-unquote flagships. And if anything, this is a stronger case for maybe expanding the 10A line, the A series line, with a big and a small and a screen size wise, which is what people care about at the end of the day.
Yeah, that could be smart. The only thing I want to say is not so much. I agree with you. Like the on device stuff is not there today, and like I feel like I'm the resident AI skeptic of the three of us, or at least the most skeptical. So I'm willing to like don't get me wrong. Like I don't think frankly I would uninstall Gemini Nano from my Pixel if I didn't have this job, because it's 7 gigabytes of space that I don't think is used well. Like I think you are better off giving that 7 gigabytes to your music app and having 7 gigabytes of saved more music. My thing is more that like, if we are 2, 3, 4 years away, Abner, as you're saying, I think this slows us down even more. I think this pushes us 3, 4, 5, 6 years away from this stuff really mattering. And that matters less to Samsung than it does to Google. It matters less to Motorola than it does to Google. Like, Google wants to not just be the Android device you're picking, but also the company that is pushing Gemini and AI on Android forward more so than any other company. And so I think I have to imagine they are frustrated by this internally. Like, there's no way they want to be making this change. And I just think it's interesting. I think it comes at an interesting time. I think it's so tricky for me to relate it back to the A series, honestly, Damien. Like, I feel like I didn't give you a great specific answer there, but it's because I don't know what happens. Like, do they just raise prices across the board? Google's kind of the one company on the Android side of things we haven't seen touch prices at all. You know, I assume that's coming, but like, is the next A series device $600? And what does that mean for the rest of the lineup? Does this year's 8 gigabyte, 128 gigabyte
again,
Pixel 11 start at $900? I don't know. Like, it's such a, I mean, I wrote a piece this week that was basically just like, nobody's doing phone upgrades anymore, and you're paying more for the hardware that is essentially what you could have bought last year. Like, go buy 2025 hardware at this point. Like, I think that more than ever.
I think one of the saving graces could potentially be if there isn't huge uptick in pricing, maybe Google can do some software shenanigans with regards to using onboard memory to kind of overcome the shortcoming with the lack of RAM. And it isn't a lack of RAM, isn't it? It's just the fact that they've gone from 12 gigabytes on the base, potentially to eight now to the base. You lose 4 gigabytes of RAM. It does potentially not give you as much performance overhead as you'd expect. There could potentially be like genuine day-to-day performance degradation. Granted, I do think the Pixel 10a and the 9a specifically haven't been quite as, they don't feel exponentially slower than the other devices, even though they have a slightly lesser chip and less RAM. It does mean that there's certain functionalities like pixel screenshots and some of the ones that Google has given, I'm going to call it excuses, to be quite honest with you, excuses for them not existing on their devices. There is nowhere to hide next time when they make it on the A series. So it's kind of like they're making a rod for their own back a little bit, where it's a case of we're having to make these changes. Either it's a cost-saving measure, it is a cost-saving measure, or lack of availability of the stuff that they can get en masse, like maybe Samsung can. Samsung can potentially kind of shoulder it a bit more because they have more devices they're going to sell. Google isn't going to sell in the same volume, and they can't cut the same deals potentially with the companies that they need to acquire this memory and storage from. There's going to leave a really bad taste in the mouth of the people who potentially want to upgrade to this device. Like you said, there is definitely a lot of people are holding on to their devices longer, and there was going to be potentially a group of people using the Pixel 8 Pro, which oddly recently is our most popular device by readers and listeners of this podcast, is a Pixel 8 Pro. If you were looking to upgrade after 3 years to the Pixel 11, you might be looking at it and thinking, I'm not getting enough of a big swing in internals and whatever else happens to be to justify the upgrade this time around. So there was more than just looking at the specifications. There is a lot of things that come to play, especially for the kind of enthusiastic people who have used Pixels in the past and have been part of this kind of growing train of and movement of people switching to Google devices. I'm in the back of my mind, I'm worried, but I don't doubt Google will do their utmost to optimize for this experience. It's just, that they have to nail this. They have to nail this out of the gate again. And they have since the 9 series, I think, for the most part. But this feels like the a bit of a line in the sand a little bit in some respects. Let's just get into some of the GPU stuff as well, because there is another change potentially here. We may have some good news for the CPU performance, maybe some things that don't make sense right now with regards to the GPU. I guess to the enthusiast out there, you're not looking at this device anyway, but the enthusiast out there is the kind of person who's going to scrutinize this. What do we think so far in terms of because we've looked at this in detail, haven't we, over the last 24, 48 hours that this news has been available? Yeah.
Look, I'm like the wrong person to talk about the Tensor GPU controversy, because I have not thrown anything at my Pixel 10 that has struggled to perform, by which I mean Pilatra runs fine. Vampire Survivors runs fine. The thing I would say is that it clearly people are frustrated by this. There is a core audience that wants the Pixel series to be a proper flagship. It's difficult for me to this is clearly not what Google wants it to be. Now, that is complicated by the fact that the RAM decreases, not to bring that back, but also sort of eat into the vision of Google's this is for AI pitch, you know what I mean? If the pitch is, okay, it's not as good at gaming as the OnePlus 15 or the Galaxy S26 Ultra, but its AI performance and its AI skills are out of this world. Where does that tie it back into the RAM thing, where you're well, now I'm getting downgraded across the board, and who knows when I'm going to end up paying for this? Certainly not less, right? They're not doing all this and then being and the Pixel 11 is back to $700. That's not going to happen. So it's tricky for me to see it. Now, that said, this seems like a really... I can't tell you if it's a downgrade outside of I guess the model is technically one generation older than what they're using now. What that means for raw performance, what that means, I don't even understand why. I guess it's tricky for me to see what this means for performance, because I don't even understand why they're making this jump. So I have to imagine there is some reason for this. Is it cost cutting? Is it that because it does seem like they have upgraded this to a 2026 variant that includes Vulkan 1.4 support. So does it, is it fine in this upgraded version? Did they get it cheaper but providing the same performance as last generation? Like, I don't know, but I think my conclusion on this, I think where I am at right now with what we know is basically like, I expect the GPU in the Pixel 11 to perform very similarly to the one in the Pixel 10. And if you are frustrated by that, then I would skip this generation. But that's clearly not what Google has its priorities set on.
Yeah, it definitely feels as though I mean, on paper, obviously leaks it is just sometimes just a list of things and a lot of speculation in between, which obviously we're doing in this podcast. But it definitely feels like the things that people want to hear coming out of these leaks are never seem to align, if that makes sense. So if this is actually going to be based on a 2021 GPU design updated for 2026, I don't think that looks good on face value. I am sure that there is some element of internally at Google saying we want the best GPU performance. And what's also really weird is the fact that AI is so GPU intensive in those data servers. Yet on devices, it doesn't matter as much. That's just an aside note, but I don't necessarily think people coming and expecting, well, if you were expecting like exponential performance gains from GPU and gaming performance, that's not a good sign, because it has the Tensor G5 has struggled a little bit this year, and everyone's kind of waiting for a GPU firmware update. Yeah, it does leave a bit of a sour taste in the mouth in a lot of respects, but at the same time, I think when you've been around Google and Google products for a long time, you kind of understand that it isn't always necessarily the final sum of its parts in the same way that it would be with Samsung. You need every single thing running at 100% on Samsung to get the best experience. I don't think Google needs to rely on that much, because the software and the optimizations do so much heavy lifting. And I'm kind of hopeful that is the case this time around. But I don't think they can hide behind potentially using a 5-year-old GPU design if that is essentially what they're doing. Again, I'll save judgment until we finally get to see these devices and get to test them out for ourselves and people put them through those kind of stress tests. But I'm content with Pixel 10 performance, even Pixel 10a performance, because like you will, the vast majority of my gaming is Balatro, which can run on a frigging smartwatch at this point in time. So there isn't much you can do. There isn't much you can't run that on. The only other final talking point I think we have from this leak specifications is potentially some changes to how the ISP is going to work. And that is related to potentially getting new main sensors on all of the Pixel 11s, I believe. So we don't know exactly what this sensor is going to be. Could be a return to a 50 megapixel on the base model. I like that. I think that's a really good choice. Potentially a better telephoto on the Pixel 11 Pro. And then maybe some changes to the Pixel 11 Pro 4, but again, that one doesn't seem as clear. I don't know. Do we think Google is due overdue a big camera upgrade? Because it's almost like we've been working with this 50 megapixel setup across the board, and I personally have to say, in the last few years, it almost feels like Google hasn't really led from the front on the camera side of things as much as they probably should.
Yeah, it's so frustrating that it's like, Google has always been slow to provide sensor upgrades to its cameras, right? That's been Pixel's thing since the jump. I believe the Pixel 2 had a different sensor, but then that sensor was used for like 3 generations, I think, something like that. Give or take a gen. I have to be honest with you though. Like so I think the thing is, in a pre-Tensor era, right, the Mark Lavoie era of Pixel, like, yes, the sensors would be repeated for several generations at a time, but the processing would improve generation over generation. The things that were happening behind the scenes in terms of what was happening with computational photography whenever you hit that shutter button got better from the Pixel 2 to the Pixel 3 to the Pixel 4 and so on. And in the Tensor era, in a post-Mark Lavoie era, they have repeated the process of keeping sensors the same for over generations, but they have not provided, in my opinion, improvements or advancements to their processing. They certainly, Ultra HDR, et cetera, but lots of those things are actually sort of the bane of my existence when it comes to modern mobile photography. So I find it difficult to get excited over the promise of new sensors, particularly from any North American smartphone brand, because I know it's just going to kind of like, it'll have new hardware, but it's not going to be the leap that I want it to be to get up to the performance we're seeing on models from Chinese brands like Oppo and Vivo. Like that's what I think the Pixel should be doing with their camera, or they should be on par with those companies. Like there's no reason Google should not be on par with an Oppo. And yet, like, I just know that like these phones will have new hardware and I will snap a photo and I will go, maybe it's a little better than last year's, but I just like, it's so much software and the hardware changes that companies like Google and Samsung make when they do upgrade their sensors are so slim that I find it, with no specs here, I find it very difficult to get excited.
I don't know how you feel about this, Abner, because obviously I have this situation where we're going to I/O in a couple of weeks' time, and I want to have the best camera in my pocket as possible, if that makes sense. I want to be able to capture the best I potentially can, even though I'm going to carry my actual dedicated camera with me, and I know that will slap a mobile phone camera to pieces. Yeah. I think now I'm less inclined, and this is ridiculous to say, even though the consistency is so darn good on a Pixel, and I think the clue is in the name of the device, you kind of have to live and die by the camera. If you have Pixel in the name and it's related to Pixel, megapixel, whatever it happens to be, there has to come a point in which Google looks at themselves and say, we need to start making some more gains in this camera side of things. Consistency is only part of the equation. And I don't find myself wanting to take my Pixel to these kind of things like I used to. And that, I don't know, it just feels weird to do that. It feels weird that I'm going to go in with the Pixel 10 Pro Fold and think, it could be better. I could have a better camera in my pocket. I could have I could take one of the Vivo devices I've tried for the first time this year, and it's insane. I don't know. Yeah. I know you're an A-series enjoyer.
Yeah, just speaking personally, I've kind of chilled out, I guess. One is the hassle switching because RCS and that whole transfer thing, neither here nor there. But I've kind of chilled out in terms of being perfectly fine with the A-series camera and how it looks. Again, my other camera is the iPhone Air, and that's just one sensor. The telephoto is a pain, especially when you're traveling. You do notice that you're losing the zoom capabilities. But
I mean, how did you cope with that when we went to Barcelona? Because we did, like, this is just behind the scenes for the listener. We went when we were at MWC. We did a lot of touristy stuff, and I was using the 10A at the time. And then in tandem with that, I was using the S26 Ultra. I knew that if I wanted to get those kind of close-up shots, it's going to have to be the S26 Ultra, even though I do prefer the images and the image, like the kind of the quality experience with the 10A. I don't know. How did you cope with that? Because I don't think I asked you at the time.
I made my peace for the 10A camera and the iPhone Air camera. It's just whatever's convenient, which is no, I do agree that Pixel, like, given the name, they do have to bring it up. I wonder if this requires a massive redesign if we want to start pushing those best possible sensors. If the camera bar is not big enough or whatever, I do wonder if that's the goal. But I do feel like in the context of, to bring it back to the AI discussion, it does kind of feel like Google's priorities are heavily on AI right now. That being said, there's absolutely a case to boost up the camera stuff again.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But the telephoto changes look like one of the most interesting to me, because that's an area in which the 10 series with that is it ProRes Zoom? I always forget the name of it. The results can be fantastic.
They changed it for whatever reason from ProRes Zoom. They changed it to Pro Zoom mid-cycle even on the marketing. And the camera app. It's weird. I don't know what that was about.
I don't know if I knew that. Yeah, can I, if I can speak anecdotally for a second, let me just make one big picture point about the camera. It's just that I remember those early generations, like people, like regular people, like iPhone users in my life, like knew of Pixel as the phone brand with really good cameras.
Yeah, the best camera.
That obviously did not get them to jump ship from iMessage. But they clearly did. Like, people in my life who do not pay attention to this stuff knew that the Pixel camera was like very good. And to the point where like people would ask me to take the
Take
group
the photos.
photo
Yeah, no,
I had a pixel. Yeah,
totally agree.
100%.
I think we've lost that in the last few years.
I don't remember the last time somebody told me that.
No.
I don't remember the last time I pulled out a pixel.
You don't think it's because the ceiling is just so high, or
Maybe.
I think everything in North America
good.
is basically the same. I think it's basic, but I mean that in a derogatory sense. Like I mean that in a
I get that,
like,
but it's
in a like it's everything is like kind of gray and we've removed shadows, like contrast.
Oh yeah,
is
don't talk to me about that.
dead. Nobody likes contrast. None of these companies like contrast. Let's just have everything be evenly lit and both softened and then sharpened. And if you're on an iPhone, you can kind of tweak it with their like the most finicky, like awful experience I've seen of like what's it called? What's their color?
people
thing
like
called?
that.
I like it too. It just sucks setting it up. But I wish something like that was on Pixel. I mean, even stuff like that where it's like
I feel that has to be at this point.
let some I don't know, like make if you can't improve the processing anymore, if computational photography has reached its endpoint apparently based on the last few generations of Pixel upgrades, and we're not putting more impressive sensors in here to get performance out of the hardware, then at least let me make it easier for me to tweak the final output and make it more personalized to me the way Apple does. It's so weird to me that the iPhone allows you to essentially make more personalized images out of the gate than most Android phones, but certainly the Pixel.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm just very I am very all of this comes from a place of love, by the way. Like all of this frustration that I've had throughout the last 32 minutes, probably cut 2 minutes of this, 30 minutes of this podcast is me being like, I love this lineup of phones and I want them to do better and I want them to be obviously the best on the market. And right now it's like they're totally fine phones. Like I'm happy to recommend them to people, but I'm also like, I struggle to get excited over any of this.
Yeah. I think that might be a symptom though of this. We're having a bit of a refresh cycle, which I think was everything Google needed to do for a long time. Try not to throw the baby out with the bathwater every year. Just basically, I don't know if you guys would have this, but this is a very football soccer phrase. It'd be world-class fundamentals. Do the basics to a world-class level, and then everything else will fall into place. And I
can
think
see that.
Yeah. So they need to continue to do that.
I'm just ready for them to move.
Yeah, I think
forward.
We've seen the Pixel 9 enough times now that we kind of want to see the Pixel 12. But yeah, one more thing before we kind of wrap up all this Pixel 11 stuff before. No doubt we'll hear more about it in the coming months, but it does look like we are not going to get the face unlock hardware with this Pixel 11 that was kind of rumored a few months ago, maybe 6-7 months ago, I think it was. I think is it Project Toscana? Doesn't look like that's going to happen this time around. We're probably going to be sticking with maybe some improvements to the software-based face unlock. I think that, again, it's a little bit of a disappointment. I mean, show of hands, who you here uses face unlock? I am not a face unlock enjoyer, if I'm being completely honest with you.
No, I'm on the Pixel. It's fingerprint, and actually, I prefer that over the iPhone.
I'll do it. I'll be the listener out there. You didn't expect me to be the pro face unlock person, but I love face unlock on the Pixel. I think it's really good. I have basically used it reliably since. When did it get really good? Was it the 9?
8 series, I think, was very good for me.
8 series, yeah. And then I so basically whatever generation they added the ability to unlock like bank apps with it, was when I felt like it got like pretty solid. My Pixel is always, unless it's like pretty dark, like even like evening levels of light are typically fine. It's just in the complete dark or very dim that I have to rely on fingerprint. But I actually really like current gen face unlock on the Pixel. I would love for it to be better, but I do think what they have now is the best on Android. Like I certainly think it's better than Samsung.
I've always found curious is that when they updated the algorithms and using the tensor chip to do that flat face unlock, they never went into the technicals of it. They just said it was out there. They just said more apps supported, but they have never gone into the details and the specs. And I always found that curious why they never. Yeah. Usually, if you make that technological breakthrough, whatever, Google usually talks a great deal about it, but they just haven't with this, and that always struck me as odd.
Yeah,
it's very weird.
It is very reliable and very fast. I think it definitely reminds me of early OnePlus Face Unlock, which was the most insecure. I was going to say POS, but I think that's the political way to describe it. It was literally the most insecure. You could use like a photo for it. I think Google's approach has been very odd given their kind of the solely and the way they handled it with the Pixel 4, which was fantastic. It was still the best Face Unlock I've experienced, even better than the iPhone. I'm a big fingerprint scanner enjoyer, although I'm not a big fingerprint scanner enjoyer of the Pixel 10 Pro Fold for positive reasons. It's too fast. It's too accurate. It's too quick. The amount of times I grab the phone out of my pocket and it unlocks, that's by the by, that's capacitive. We'll park that to the side.
I feel that. I absolutely feel that.
Yeah, I think that I would love to see Google do some more with Face Unlock, and it's just disappointing that it's not going to be this year. If they're going to give, they could have just given with one hand and taken away a little bit of the RAM stuff and improved it with software, hidden it with software optimizations, and I would have been fine with it. I think this definitely is a little bit more of like a knife in the back in terms of what the Pixel 11's coming. But again, we'll save judgment. It's just we wanted to round that one out. Last Pixel 11-bit tidbit for the week. Quite a lot to dive into, and we'll have more to dive into, I'm sure, as the months progress, because it's definitely rapidly approaching Pixel 11 launch period, and you can tell from this deluge of information coming out there. But we have another piece of hardware, which is currently just as we're talking, has been dropped. It's been released. It's available for pre-order. The brand new Fitbit Air. I quite like the name. I don't know if you guys like the name. I quite like it. A wearable, no screen, in the old school, I guess in the Whoop style design, I guess, maybe not in the same thing. We've also then had Google Health, which is a brand new massive launch. It's going to replace the Fitbit application. This is huge for a Thursday, in May.
It is. Pre-I.O., pre-Android show, Google has a new health strategy. They are retiring the Fitbit brand for anything but hardware. The software is now Google Health, bring it into its fold, into its usual branding fold. Some close to AI connections. But let's start with the hardware. We haven't worn it yet, but it is very small. Google Fitbit's lightest tracker, even lighter than the Inspire 3, especially since it doesn't have a screen. It is just a pebble underneath. It is a pebble that you slide into a band. The band removal mechanism, from what we've seen, is pretty easy. $100. The hardware is just equivalent to. It doesn't have everything that the Pixel Watch has. It's missing some things, but it's pretty close. For example, there's no there's no floor tracking. There's no altimeter, from what I can tell, and it's the only interaction that you can have. It vibrates to wake up in the morning, and you can set any other alarm you want in the Google Health app. So that's pretty straightforward. But it is hardware-wise. There's not much to it. The emphasis in Google's design process was something that you can wear all day, 24/7. That you don't have to think about taking off. 7 days of battery life. The lack of GPS, standalone GPS, absolutely makes sense, but it is what it is. It's the hardware. It's $100 undercuts the Whoop, which I'm of the opinion that Google is taking a slight down market. They're going after a bit of a more down market audience, where Whoop is going out for the full athletes. As seen from the Pixel Watch when they did their big health focus, I really don't think that Google wants the highest of the high-end market in terms of athletics.
This to me feels very much like a return to the start point of Fitbit. People who want to get active, they don't need all of the data points. They just want a little bit of information. And originally the Fitbit was step counts, right? Step count and heart rate. I think the design of the band is, I like the simplicity and the elegance of it. I think elevate it above some of the other potential devices from the likes of Xiaomi, Honor, even Huawei, if you were able to pick them up in your region, there's a lot of these fitness bands out there that feel like tech. And I think this is one thing that Google seems to do better and kind of maybe understands more so than a lot of other brands out there is you want something that is going to fit into your day-to-day life without standing out too drastically. Maybe they've looked at this from a situation where the Pixel Watch series has become a timepiece. I think it's another elegant piece of technology. I think it's, if I'm being completely honest, Google's best product in terms of its hardware design and some of the other elements of it. This feels very much in that mold. Take what we've learned from the Pixel Watch. What has it been, 3 or 4 years since the Versa had an update? Like, they look like technology.
So Abner, you and I have disagreed a couple times on how much of this is a Whoop competitor, but we are fully in agreement, I think, and maybe we just haven't said this clear enough, that like I do think they are aiming down market from Whoop. I think they have taken inspiration from Whoop, seen. So what I think this is, right? And I think this is a smart play by Google, is they have looked at the demographic of people who want something like Whoop and been like, okay, there is clearly a market here, but Whoop is like intense, man. Like it's if you talk to like a diehard Whoop user, it sounds like a cult almost, right? Like people who love Whoop, like love Whoop. and they're never going to switch. If they were going to switch, it would have been last year when they had their pricing controversy. So that's that window's closed. So you're probably not going to get a lot of those people. So instead, what you can do is take the pitch of Whoop, which is this device that does not get in the way of your, as you guys have said, like it is it doesn't look like a gadget necessarily. It can better blend into your typical outfits, and Whoop does this a little bit better because you can take it off the band entirely and put it into various like other pieces of clothing or whatever. But even still, as a band, like this makes a lot of sense. Google has taken that idea and then been like, we're like 2/3 cheaper than Whoop or something. Like it's like the buy-in is so much cheaper. The software support is so much. And actually, Abner, do you need the premium, the health premium plan to use this? Or is it just it's the better basic experience? It
will act as there's no data, sensor data is locked behind a premium subscription.
Okay. So that like completely undercuts Whoop, which is built through this subscription-based model that gives you the hardware. It's a really smart play because clearly Whoop has found an audience, and Google being able to come in and take that idea, attach it to the Fitbit brand, and be like, it's $100, pay for the subscription or don't. And
this is where I have some. Okay, I think Whoop because everybody is framing it as a Whoop competitor, and that's the information we had when it first leaked out. And this is the whole Steph Curry of it. But to me, Whoop is that subscription, that crazy, you're very into it, you're very into your data. And the other way to see what Whoop is, which is what other people see it as, is that it's a screenless tracker thing that has. So it's good for Google to split, to differentiate that. They are targeting the latter rather than the former.
Yes.
This hardware is their bread and butter. They know what to do with it. They've been doing it for years. They just base it to be to be less generous about it. They just took off the screen. That's all they did, really.
But it's so smart though, because I think, like I said, Whoop has proven that this market exists. So for Google to look at it and go, okay, well, we'll keep what works about our stuff and we'll take what works about your stuff and pair the two together.
Does anyone remember the Amazon Halo band?
The name rings a bell. What the heck was that?
I do now that you've said it.
Yeah, the name rings a bell.
Wow. It was their like low cost entry level like Fitbit
It was their Whoop competitor.
Well, it was also there was one with a screen, right?
No, they had that weird thing where like you use your front facing camera, it like measures body fat or something. Like it was that had a lot of ideas.
Wow, I forgot how much of this was just Whoop. Wow. Halo View. That's what I was thinking of. I think I reviewed or did a hands-on or something with the Halo View, which had a display. So that's what I was thinking of. I forgot that the Halo started as a honestly, it looks exactly like both the Whoop and the Fitbit Air. Like it's the same like fabric band covering a little like wearable gadget, no display with like a thing you pull the strap through. Like it's the exact same design.
I think the last thing to talk about in the actual hardware is that there's no screen. And it's not trying to be a smart band, but I do. To me, the fact that it doesn't have like a basic e-ink or like cheap digital watch display to show just the time kills me. That is like my line in the sand for something extremely wearable. But I do think people want notifications. That's at a basic level. I think people just want notifications too.
I don't know. That I agree with you to an extent, but I've kind of, as of the last 6 or 7 months, I think like everybody out there in the entire world is trying to almost digital detox. And having a device like this that is sold as, I'm just going to track your health stats. I'm going to put it in an application. If you want to check it, you check it. You get vibrations when certain things go on. I think whether they thought about it or not, and obviously there's other brands out there that make them, like you said, Whoop, which I think is a terrible name. There are so many smart devices out there that you can go out and buy. I think having one that just blends into the background, goes on your wrist, doesn't notify you every 25 seconds that something goes on, I think that might genuinely be a masterstroke. And the Fitbit line, I think in a lot of ways, and dare I say this, is stronger
I think
than Pixel.
People downgrading from an app. If the Apple Watch is the target, is the competitor, or let's say Galaxy Watch or Pixel Watch, I think people going down, potentially deciding to go from that to the Fitbit Air, I think they will miss notifications.
Maybe, but Damien like nailed his 6 to 7 month window for me. Like I am that person who has finally turned, and maybe it's because we've talked about this maybe, but like I've turned the corner and been like, oh my God, half of my life has been spent, or like,
looking at box.
Almost half of my life has been spent with my wrist constantly buzzing every several times an hour. I have started taking my smartwatch, my whatever smartwatch I'm wearing off at like by like 8 p.m. because I'm like, I'm
shaking my head because all of you are doing this wrong. Okay, one specifically in this tech racket that we have. One, do not have Gmail notifications on your watch. Turn those off. That's the first thing.
I'm already there.
Social media, turn that off too.
No, I've done all this. I'm past
you
this
should leave
is the problem.
On your wrist are messaging apps, your personal messaging apps.
Even those bother me
That's it.
At this point. It's true. That has been so... Abner, I've done all of that. The problem is that the messaging apps are now driving me nuts. Like it has gotten to the point where past 7:30 or 8, I'm done. I don't want to be talked to
Not
anymore.
your group chats. Not all your group chats, which you are in many. Just like the ones that you use to communicate with your partner. I think that's like
partner's
that's
sitting on
what
the couch
people
next
want
to
at
me.
the end of the day. Like that is. At the end of the day, messaging notifications is a thing that I will think people miss. One-to-one messaging, not social media, just one-to-one convos. That's what they'll miss if they go downgrade to this form factor from a smartwatch. I don't think you go back to us from a smartwatch.
I mean, I can see it from both sides. I can definitely see it from both sides because...
So can Google. That's why it works with the Pixel Watch finally. Because I think Google wants people like me who are being like, I'm so tired of my watch buzzing at night. Like I don't even want to, but it's like, I don't really want to be on Do Not Disturb because I don't want to be that disconnected from the world, and I don't want to really build like 14 focus modes or whatever. Like I just want, like, it is so much easier for me to be like, you know what, never mind. And like throw the watch back on its charger and be like, see you tomorrow. And that is what
continued. Turn on airplane mode.
Yeah, to me, it's just, I guess I have reached the point where I am tired of playing in the company's playground. It's built for me to be like, don't worry. Like are you feeling overwhelmed by your Instagram notifications? Just spend 5 to 20 minutes in the settings app and you can make it all go. You can finally figure out what you want. And like, I think I am not alone in this. Maybe in the enthusiast space, but certainly not in the real world space. I don't think I'm alone in being like, I'm just, man, you know what? I'll just take the watch off. And this is great because it does split. If you have a Pixel watch, it does split the difference. It does allow you to be like, I can continue if I go for an evening walk at 8:30. Now that, we're approaching summer, it's like I can slap this thing on, keep my fitness tracking going, and be completely disconnected without having to ever open the settings app to mess with what notifications are coming to my watch.
I think, I can see it from both sides. I think the bigger sell...
Yeah, I don't think Abner's wrong, to be clear. I think it's
he's definitely correct. I think I was very much of the same. I think I'm just trying to disconnect a lot more from things. I deleted all my social media for a year. I'm going to see how I get on with that. And it has helped. It means I'm not... I mean, don't get me wrong. It means I've migrated to Instagram Reels and I'll scroll them 3 or 4 hours a day.
Reddit's been the trap for me. I've had to get myself off Reddit because it's so easy to replace like Twitter with Reddit. But you can't do it.
This is why this beautiful new Google Health redesign is perfect, because we're going to spend all of our evenings looking at our Google Health stats. So, I mean, I have to say, this has been available in public preview for a while now, Abner, hasn't it?
Yes, since October.
And I genuinely think the new look is something that this should have been the case a long time ago. I'm glad they finally decided to make these changes because visually it looks so much better than it possibly could have done. The Fitbit application was kind of a halfway house, and Google Fit was being completely, just eradicated and abandoned. So it's kind of nice to see that Google has decided to amalgamate it all into Google Health. I mean, is this a kind of data? Are we going to get this kind of in-depth data from the Fitbit band? Is it going to be accurate enough for someone to be really get a picture of the health? I'm unsure, but at the same time, I quite like that they've gone and maybe learned from the mistakes others have made and they've made in their own applications and said, let's just start from scratch.
This is absolutely the most straightforward take on this. It's not trying to squish all the health data into one tab. They evenly split it across 4. So let's talk about the Fitbit app sans the health coach, because it's pretty straightforward. It's a good redesign. Well, I'd say they have a solid fundamental idea behind it. The premise is solid. This 4-tab layout. They made some good redesigns. Lets you customize it a great deal with the data you want to see all the time. So that's solid. Have any of you been using the health coach?
No,
I'm not.
No.
I'm going to be because I'm reviewing the Fitbit Air.
I see it. I don't know the health. Okay, this is a funny anecdote, but if you use the Fitbit when you were using the public preview, if you used it without the health coach, without a premium subscription, it was kind of like so simplistic in a nice way. Like there's no Ask Coach button. It's so much less information at you, and it was kind of nice. So much so that I can't, as a premium subscriber, I kind of want the option to remove the coach. But that's neither here nor there again. But yeah, the coach, I use Gemini for health stuff. I talk to it about health stuff to find information. But I just can't replicate that behavior with the Fitbit coach, with a coach, interestingly.
It definitely feels like one of those things where it doesn't matter how they sugarcoat these functionalities, they're never going to be quite what everybody wants. It's kind of can be a bit too broad. And I know that you can use AI and you can set goals. I think to me personally, I find when I go to the gym mostly. I'm not like a runner or anything like that. I maybe would play a bit of football here and there. I'm kind of approaching the age where I'm going to have to retire, which is quite sad to say out loud.
You can kick it. You can can bend it.
But this is the thing. I think very much that...
bend it like Damien.
The thing, I mean, I'm looking at the application now and I'm like, how would I benefit from this? It's like, I think for the kind of people who just go do cardio, maybe there is elements of this that can be applied to your workouts. I think if you do like a kind of a more of a split hit workouts, is a bit more tough to kind of get a true kind of you can't really ascertain what your goals should be, because it's like, oh, I want to do progressive overload. I maybe want to increase my VO2 max, that kind of stuff. It's like an application is not really going to help you with that purely on its own. You're going to have to use other services and maybe have a personal trainer in person to reach certain levels. So yeah, I'm not sold on these. I'm not necessarily sold on these tools. That's the thing.
Like, to go big brain AI for a second, it is the promise of AI in the context of fitness is giving everybody their own coach, their own trainer. That is something that couldn't be done at an advanced level large language models. So the premise here is that AI can give everybody a personal trainer. And I think that on paper is not a bad idea. It helps people stick to their goals a bit more. It customizes the workouts as best as it can. So on paper, that's a good idea. But I don't know. I feel like, how do most people exercise? If like they watch one of those workout videos, they stick to those, they find a program. So the question is, how seamlessly can you integrate somebody else telling you real-time feedback on your progress? Will people, because I've been using fitness apps for years, and when I see those prompts about like feedback when I work out, I just kind of ignore them. So maybe because I know there's an AI behind it, maybe I listen to that a bit more, but I just do what I want to do exercise-wise.
Yeah, I think for the sake of $10 a month as well, you kind of invested to listen to it a little bit more, maybe. I don't know. There's maybe a little bit of an element of how the heck do you balance that? I know that you can get this as part of is it the AI Pro plan? Is that the middle one? Is that about $100 a year or something like that, I think? I'm trying to convert it from my pound sterling brain into freedom bucks. So I think
had it for free.
I know, we get it for free anyway. So I think if that was part of it, I don't know why they don't do that in the US, to be quite honest with you. I think that would make
Now they are.
Well, it makes it a more sellable asset, I think, as part of a Google ecosystem play. I think this is probably the most sensible way to do it. Again, I do wonder how many people are going to utilize the personal coach aspect of it. I think, I'm not sold yet. I haven't seen anything in terms of how AI is going to be utilized to help you improve your workout plans more so than anything else. Maybe you do need something like a Whoop or like a really high end wearable to really get this to be useful to you. But I guess in the next few weeks we'll find out how that pans out with the Fitbit Air, and I'm sure Will will have some thoughts when he's treading the pavement, what lack thereof in the US.
God, we keep oscillating between like beautiful like 72-degree sunny days and like 41-degree rainy and windy days. So keep your fingers crossed for me that I get more of the former than the latter for what I'm testing.
Just put the windbreaker on and just go for it. This is living in the UK.
Me running in like 25, 30 mile per hour winds, being like, this is great. I'm having a great time.
Yeah. So
I reviewed the charts, the Fitbit Charge 6 with a cough. I took like cough medication before doing the final exercise one.
That's awful.
Oof. Well, I'm excited to see how this pans out. I think this is one of those products that it's probably going to be a sleeper product. I think this is the kind of thing, and I'm seeing it from the UK side of things, is that you would go into our big box retailers is Currys. I think they might be the biggest still. There isn't many brick and mortar stores you can go into. And I can imagine seeing this on display with all of the fitness wearables, people going in, it's under £100. I think it's £85 here in the UK, $99 in the US. And I think it's at that perfect price point where people are like, do you know what? Around that Christmas period, holiday period, birthdays.
Yeah, it'll be $79.
I mean, if you're a bad partner, anniversaries, you might get someone one of these. I think that is going to be a big beneficial aspect of this Fitbit piece of hardware. And it doesn't help that Steph Curry's wearing it. I know you basketball enjoyers out there probably will buy it off the back of Steph Curry's approval. But I'm sure we'll have more to talk about this in future. We haven't touched on the Android show yet. It has been announced that is happening on Tuesday. Is that the 12th of May, I believe? We will have more to say once that's been and gone. I am excited to see just what Google has in store for Android ahead of I/O.
Wait, is our episode 100 covering the Android show?
It will be, yes. I didn't want to spoil it, so thanks for spoiling it. Yes, so it's a very special episode. Tell your friends, tell everybody you know to tune in next week. It's going to be a bumper episode, 100 episodes of Pixelated, and I couldn't have two better people with me to talk about Android. So thanks, guys, for joining me,
buddy.
as always.
Oh, wait. One thing quick. If you or somebody you know is an Amazon Music listener, if you prefer listening to your podcast on Amazon Music, this show, Pixelated, and the Sideload are both on Amazon Music Podcast now. That came from actual requests for both shows that I got in my email. So if you were one of the people reaching out to me, congratulations, you got what you wanted. It is on Amazon Music.
And you can pick up your Amazon Halo at the same time. Thanks, guys, for joining us, and we will speak to you very, very soon. I'm excited. I'm genuinely vibrating with excitement for this episode next week. Android is our bread and butter, and we are being teased by Google. It's going to be one of the biggest years for Android. So
I'm excited.
Stay tuned, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Pixelated, a 9 to 5 Google podcast. If you enjoyed the show, we ask that you rate and review it on the podcast platform of your choice and help spread the word by sharing the show with friends or on social media.